as I mentioned, by welcoming you to a very exciting time in not only the online backup space, but SOS's company. We've experienced just exponential growth thanks to our partners. As you'll see throughout the conversation here, you'll acknowledge our business model and how reliant we are on partner success for our overall company's success. So I thank you all for being here today, and I'm really looking forward to not only answering your questions, but taking you through the steps that's going to be necessary for you to become partners with us here at SOS. So today's meeting will take place in regard to the backup partnership, and I'm just going to kind of scroll through here from page to page, but let me know if you guys have any problems seeing what you can on your desktop. Today we're going to go over a little bit of the company overview. We're going to talk about the ability to supercharge your revenue in a reoccurring model sense, and I want to take you through not a high-level view, which is the typical strategy of these online backup webinars, but I want to take you through a low level from not only a product demonstration, but also an ROI example. So you guys can really get a lot out of this phone call here. You're going to have a good idea, not only the product and have a high level of comfort on how the technology works, but also how to price this and what it's going to cost. So I'm looking forward to doing all that for you, and we will, throughout the conversation, be answering your questions. I'll stop periodically so that you can feel free to ask when necessary. So, company overview and history of SOS. Well, SOS has been in this space for going on 11 years, and we've been pretty successful, I'd say. Over the past, I'd say even 5 years, we've won awards from both PC Mag and Laptop Mag as Editor's Choice, 5 years running. We're very proud of that. Also, more recently, Wall Street Journal and New York Times have rated us #1. We feel this is very important, not only because of our company and our growth directly as far as sales go, but for the partner channel. Our partner channel, as I mentioned earlier, it generates almost 90% of our company revenue. So we need for there to be a high level of comfort on your end in making that decision to partner up with us. Okay, so we're pretty happy about that success, but you know, as far as a partner channel goes, we're very, very unique, and I'm going to go over the specifics as far as how we're unique as opposed to the other providers out there. But a little bit more about the company. We have a global presence of data centers. So as far as our infrastructure goes, we're pretty well saturated in the U.S. with 5 data centers spread pretty evenly across the U.S. And then international global presence, we have fairly well spread as well across the globe. And if you need to get an example of those specific strategic locations, we'll be more than happy to provide those to you. All right? So, SOS, 200 companies worldwide, 3 million customer accounts with over 12 million PCs and servers on the grid. By far and large, we are very, very, very successful in this space, and that is a great, great indication of how our partners are doing. Because of that 90% revenue through them, that is a direct indication of how well they're doing. So the offer to you partners, it begins with telling you a little bit about the potential for growth and money that's available in this space. This is a $10 billion industry, and as far as saturation goes, we're only at about $1 billion for the online backup space. So is now a good time to get in and start selling the solution? By far, yes. Perfect timing to get a piece of this pie. SOS has done several things, I think, to increase your ability to be successful with this. I like to call it business in a box, but really soup to nuts, we've got what it's going to take to make you successful. So let's start by talking about the rebrand process. Okay, so SOS, the award-winning solution, we're going to now completely wipe the SOS presence from that product and add your logo and your brand identity to the product. Okay, so you're going to have not only the marketing power of that, but also you're going to leverage our award-winning infrastructure. So very, very unique. Many of the other providers out there will only give you a neutrally branded product. that has a somewhat of a gray template and maybe just a logo in the left-hand color. We're talking about a complete rebrand where SOS is taken from this product. Now, in saying that, I've got to tell you, we do stay present in that EULA agreement where we're going to shield you from any kind of liability, which is a main concern of many of our partners. Of course, since they're leveraging their brand name, they want to make sure we're present there in the background in that EULA agreement to shield them from any kind of liability. But also in saying that, we've never lost data in 10 years of business based on our robust infrastructure of redundant backups. It's just not going to happen. I like to say if we lose data, our problems are going to be much bigger than online backup at that point. So the key here is creating not only the rebranded client software piece, but giving you a model that gives you very high margin. So let's go into some of the specifics right now as far as what's going to be part of the partnership. And I'm clicking into the wrong button here, but let's click out of Skype. I want to show you, for starters, the solution here as ours. You can see here I'm establishing the VPN connection with the login screen, but this is the SOS solution that's won all those awards. And to show you what I mean specifically by rebrand, I'm going to give you an example of a company by the name of Adobe, who just signed with us recently, and you can see an example of that rebrand process. I mean, complete facelift, color match, you name it, logo, features, very substantial. I'll give you another example here, a company by the name of Digerati. This just gives you an example, as I said, of that complete rebrand. And we've never had a partner that's been unsatisfied. You will have the opportunity of going back and getting this exactly to your liking. So you will have to sign off on that when it gets to the level that you want it. But part of that soup to nuts business in a box that we provide for you involves sales and marketing collateral. So this is very unique as opposed to some of the other providers out there. We're going to actually take your brand logo and we're going to create some documentation for you. This is an example of a company by the name of Keeltech, and this is their product brochure, where you can see they've got a list of features, link to the website, and more features on the back side, system requirements. Okay, that is just one of many marketing items that we're going to give you access to. I would say the real value lies here in the Partner Resource Center. So if you can see on your screen real quick here, I'm going to tell you, as a partner with credentials, you're going to have access to this Partner Resource Center that gives you every quick hitter that you'll need to drive leads and drive business. So we're talking about everything from email templates to pricing guidelines to sales guides, proposals, sales presentations in PowerPoint form. Everything we've found to be successful over the last 10 years of business, we're going to give you access to. And what that translates into, to me, is just saving you guys a ton of time. The number one hurdle for partners that are coming on with us is time. Am I going to have enough time to market, sell this successfully, and dedicate to this? The answer is yes, because there's so much heavy lifting done from SOS on our end. We're going to make this as easy as possible for you. This is the most hands-on partnership by far in the industry that you're going to ever have an opportunity for. And this is just one of several items that we're going to help you with. That's sales and marketing. The last thing you're going to want to do at the end or beginning of your day is have to stop and create these from scratch. So you're going to have access to every one of these on an ongoing basis. Now, as far as knowing the product, this isn't just simply giving it to you and saying good luck. We're going to train you extensively on this product. We're going to train you how to sell and market this successfully. We're going to train you on how to provide that Tier 1 support in the event this is delivered as a managed service, so that you have that troubleshooting capability on a first-tier level. Now, if you want to, move the support issues to us on as a means of expediting or escalation, sure, we're going to be present there in the background, and you'll make us present when you want us. Okay, so you have that ability. Let's get back and go into the product now, because I want to discuss the feature sets. This is a very feature-rich product, and I think predominantly what we're trying to accomplish for you and what we're trying to allow for you to provide to your customer base is full business continuity. Okay? Part of continuity to me means having the ability of not only backing up every system in that network, including the server, but having the ability to restore to every computer, system, server in that network with no extra cost associated with the download of that license. We do not charge our partners any licensing fees. So this is drastically different from many of the providers in the industry who will charge you $5 per PC or $10 per server. We do not charge you based on a per node cost, okay? This allows you not only to have the most economic solution that's out there from a disaster recovery plan, but also from a marketing standpoint. Imagine the power of having your branded application on every system in every network as they interact on a daily basis, okay? What more? Part of continuity means having a secondary means for recovering and restoring data quickly when necessary. And we all know here nothing replaces the speed of a local restore, okay? We baked that opportunity or that feature into the product here, as you see, local backup, which will allow you to point to any device other than tape and fully encrypt and password protect that data prior to launching it to the drive of your choice. So if it's a NAS, external thumb, you'll choose that. And if those drives are taken off-site for storage purposes and lost or stolen in transit, that information is safe and secure because it's highly encrypted, all right? They will need, whoever finds those drives, the decryption key in order to access that data through the software application, all right? And what a great way to round out the product, having a local backup option. Many companies get a local backup from one company and an online backup from others, so it's great that you can have a full 360 product. Let's talk about the online backup feature because that's where a majority of the value lies in your disaster recovery plan. So step one, what do you want to back up? This is the fundamental Windows directory tree where you're going to flexibly choose what you want to back up here, okay? And I'm going to tell you before I move on to select items that we are one of the few providers that will support the backup of a map directory, all right? And in most small to medium business frames, there's going to be a NAS device, even small office, home office, there's going to be a NAS device in that network. So I definitely recommend UNC path creation through that shared network folder, but just good to know, we will support the backup of a map directory, unlike many providers out there. Now, if I put a dark check mark next to the desktop indicating I'm backing up everything on that desktop, that's going to show how much data I'm backing up here in green in accordance with the account size being 10 gig. Pretty straightforward. For the purpose of this discussion and my demonstration, I'm just going to double-click the desktop and manually select Webinar 714 for today, okay? Because that's the document we're going to be looking at. When we talk about return on investment, that's the document that we're going to be talking through with the numbers. All right? So I've selected that document. And just to prove to you that we do support the backup of OpenLock files, I'm going to leave that file open and just minimize it in the tray. So I've checked it there. I'm going to move on to the next step. Now, for all of you that are new to online backup or that have been in online backup and have an experience, the major pain point today, industry-wide, is always the initial seeding process. That's what takes the most amount of time, all right? We're not the only ones with that issue, okay? Everybody has that issue. So your question to me is going to be, Brett, how is SOS different from everybody else? How do you do it differently? Well, I'll tell you what. We never assign you quotas to the amount you can give us on a daily basis or at what speed you can give us that amount. We'll take it as fast as you can give it. The only limitations will be on the customer end as far as their connectivity speed. So will we hamstring you in the background? No, sir. We'll take it as fast as you can give it. And I've seen uploads as fast as 15,000 kbps with our product, just to benchmark your expectations. Now, as far as the subsequent backups, those nightly intervals that you choose, we're just doing those based on bit level delta changes. So we're just going to take the changes, making this a very passive and fast solution, not something that's going to suck resources and limit local performance, okay? You will have also full control over when those backups run. It's not going to be running all the time in the background like many solutions. So once the initial achieves, you'll simply go in here in step 2 and check to run the scheduled backup automatically, and then you'll be able to choose that frequency. You could have it as often as every 1 to 12 hours, maybe just once a day, which is typical, once a week or once a month. Completely up to you. You have full control over that. Also, for server-based backup, checking that box comes in handy because you can run the backup even when the Windows user is not logged on, so that'll create an auto task to log that machine back on in time to achieve that backup, okay? Now, we're going to attempt an initial backup of that document, so I'm unselecting those boxes. And before moving on, I want to tell you about an application that we have that allows you to flexibly push a schedule like this across several nodes at once. There are those of you that will be working with maybe some home consumers. There are those of you that will be working with small to medium businesses, and there'll be those of you that are working with some niche level enterprise customers. In the event you have a situation where you have a customer with maybe anywhere from 20 to 50 nodes they're backing up, you're not going to want to go from node to node to create a schedule. You're going to want to use our remote control panel. Okay, our management console is called Pulse. This is an invisible agent that is installed with the product and will give you the real-time feedback to that environment. For the purposes of creating that schedule, you're going to be able to see here, backup policies, create a policy. Now, what does that mean? That means I'm actually going to create one backup schedule that I can push across that entire environment in the click of a button. All right? That gives you just a ton of control over that environment. What more? As far as reporting goes, you'll see in step 3 of this setup process in the software that the default mechanism allows up to 2 email recipients to receive a confirmation report which indicates success or failure of that backup. Okay? Now, if you have Pulse, you're going to have real-time access to those backups. You'll have access to the events, the logs, the backup sessions, everything you're going to need to resolve an issue if, and that's a big if, it happens. You can even have the ability of running error events and reports at your will. Now, as opposed to many of the other dashboards that are out there, this is very unique and best of breed because it gives you the ability of changing a backup schedule, actually remote controlling it. We host Pulse. We actually give you the application and portal access so that you can control from your PC or your laptop, whatever your system is there at the business. All right? Now, for any more information on this, feel free to contact your local sales rep. They'll be more than happy to either provide you with a demo of Pulse and or demonstrate it for you in live fashion. Okay? So I'm going to move on here and keep things rolling. We've covered the reporting mechanism here, and the next step is that it's complete. It was a very simple 4-step setup process. You want this to be simple in the event it's customer-facing. I would check to run the backup now as long as I see that relative material in the box and hit finish. Once this window comes up here, I'm going to hit the show detail box so we can talk through what's going on here. So how secure is this backup? Many people and many customers are going to wonder how secure these online transactions are. Let me tell you, we use the most superior level of encryption in the industry. We use all AES encryption, which is military-grade, DoD standard, as SOS was created and birthed back in year 2000. We began as a government contractor, and we feel we use the most superior level of encryption, as I said. So we'll hit it with 256-bit on the computer prior to transfer of that data. Then we're going to hit it again over the 128-bit SSL tunnel, which is what the banks use for online banking transactions. The unique level of encryption that occurs is on the data center. We actually hit it with 1024-bit AES, which is what the what I call overkill to a certain degree. That's just quadruple DoD standard, but it's just to maintain and ensure the integrity of that data. Okay. So we're going to use that level and continue maintaining that because we've never lost data and we've never had any hacker compromise. So where does the data go? Well, it's going to be assigned to the nearest data center and then replicated across data centers. So you're going to have the ability of knowing, or the comfort of knowing, that that data lies in up to 3 different geographic locations just to ensure uptime of that product. Okay? So let's move on here. Let's talk about recovery of that data, all right? Because when your customers want their information back, they're going to want it back immediately, all right? There's not going to be any, they're not going to want to wait around at all, right? So let's talk about it. SOS is going to give you a couple methods for getting that back and getting it back quick. The first most typical method will be restore online through the product. You're going to hit that. Step 1 of 3 here, what are you seeing? So the calendar view, which will allow you to go back in time to any date to restore any version of every file. And I'm going to cover our versioning policy in 1 second when we get to step 2. But if you want to find a specific file or folder, which is often at times what's going to happen, you're going to be able to drill down to the specific size, type, or name. Or just go in blindly. And it's going to allow you to pick from the several devices that you've backed up or under each account. As I mentioned before, there's no licensing fees, so you'll be able to back up as many computers as you want under each account. Now, I'm picking from my computer here. I'm going to double-click on the desktop and manually select one of these documents, Alan's document here. Okay? So, Alan's document has a little triangle next to it. And what does that triangle indicate? That triangle indicates that there are multiple versions that have been backed up. So, what is a version? A version is what's created every time a backup achieves and that document has changed. Okay? So, how do we do it as opposed to everybody else? Let's take a 1 gig file, for instance. And let's say you back up that 1 gig file once a day for a year. If that document changes daily, you're going to have 365 versions of that document, which equals 365 gigs. Your question to me is going to be, Brett, well, hey, that's great, but how much of that storage space am I billed for? How much counts against my initial purchase? And how long do you keep them? Well, you'll be happy to know we only attribute one version against your pre-purchased amount, and we store every one of those versions forever for free. You're right, for free. So, 1 gig of storage space accounted against your allotment, 364 gigs of versions stored forever for free by us. And it's not limited to 1 year. We have customers for the life of their account, which could be, a 5 to 7 year period, that have full version history. So it's a pretty unique feature to have and a great selling point. Now, not only does that make it more economical, because the smoke screen in the industry is based on that gig price. I'm going to use an example for you. There's a company by the name of Amazon, which I'm sure you've all heard before, that uses their storage facility as S3 or rack space. And the way that they service the storage space is by billing you on a per gig basis. It's a very, very, very low 15 cents per gig. What they're not telling you is that they're charging you for that version history. So if you version a 1 gig doc for 30 days, that's not 15 cents anymore, is it? It's actually 45 cents. Excuse me, $4.50. So bear in mind when you're assessing any solution that's out there, be very, very clear as to that archiving and versioning policy. With us, best of breed. You're only paying for one for the life of the account in that version set. Now, for compliancy standards, if you're in a specialized sector of medical, healthcare, finance, law, or government, you're going to need that full and forever archiving ability and policy. Okay? For medical industries, it's going to be EMR compliancy coming up here pretty soon. For finance, Sarbanes-Oxley, they're going to need full version history. So it's great that you're going to be able to provide that for them, and it's going to be cost effective, whereas a 50 gig account with another provider in full version history is going to multiply into hundreds of thousands of gigs in no period of time. Okay? So let's move on. We see Alan's document here. I can pick any one of those versions from any place at any time, and I can, let's just say, pick the middle version. Move on to the next step, and I'll pick the recovery location. I can set up a default location, or I can pick a new location being, let's say, the desktop here for the purpose of our discussion. Hit OK, and then hit Finish. So it's actually going to pull a copy down from the data center, drop it on my desktop there, and voila. You can see it sitting right there. So nice and simple, and you can recover any amount of data at any time from the client software piece. The original path was attached so that I know where to drop it. It's not going to overwrite in the pre-existing location. But there's Alan's document. I can open it up, and there it is. Okay. Now, in addition, let's entertain another scenario. Let's just say, and let me close out of this real quick here. Let's just say that you're on the road. It's Friday night. Your favorite customer calls you up. You're on the road. All you have is your cell phone, but your customer calls you up and they need their favorite Excel spreadsheet back because they just lost it. And they're frantic. Can you get that back to that customer in minutes? Yes, you can. You can actually do it in seconds. SOS is going to give and support a portal system for you that gives you web access to all of your backed up data. I want to show that to you for a minute here. So as you can see, I'm logging on here. If it's a web-enabled device, including your cell phone, you will have the ability of accessing, sharing, and restoring data immediately. So in that scenario where your customer calls you up, you're in the car, of course you pull over as a law-abiding citizen on your cell phone, and you pull up this portal system, you're going to log into the account, and it's going to show you everything that's ever been backed up under that account system-wise. Now, you could look for that document based on that individual's computer, or if you could simply go into Recover, Share, and search. All right? And you can go in here and put in part of the file name, and it's going to pull up everything that matches that. Okay? So you can see there, it's going to pull up every little webinar file that I've ever created right there. Okay? So you can see here, it gives me all the opportunities that I need for recovering all those. Now the share option is how I would immediately deliver it to them. All right? The share option, it means I'm going to actually email it to them in a link format, which is an encrypted link that they'll have the ability of downloading to their computer. Or I could simply hit recover, and it's going to drop it down to my system right in front of me. All right? Now, in the event you have a customer that's, let's just say, in real estate or some image-based, I mean, every company uses images, whether it's invoices or pictures of things to do business. In the event they're in a remote location and they don't have access to their server, they could simply log onto this portal system and view the file from its origin. Okay? So you can hit view, and it's going to bring that file up so that you can see it right then and there. Okay? And of course, my computer is on remote access, so it's taken forever to load up here. All right? So I think you get the picture. In any event, we're going to move right on, and let's get into the ROI spreadsheet, because that's what I want to go over with you guys here today. So hopefully I've answered most of the technical questions. I'm actually going to ask you guys to ask any questions right now that you have in regards to the software application. If there are, feel free to ask away. I'm waiting any kind of questions. And so we're going to actually cover the pricing right now through this ROI spreadsheet. So if I could ask you just to hold on. Right now I'm going to dedicate this for any kind of technical questions and answering. It says, Edwin asks, what sort of system resources does the client take? Well, the client itself has a self-throttling mechanism. So it's never going to prioritize itself over any of the regular running applications. It's going to tone up or down according to what's available to it. All right? So it's intelligent enough. It's not going to hog any resources. It's just going to obviously prioritize itself against or non-prioritize itself against whatever's running in the background. All right? Let's see here. What else do we have here? Standard. Also, does the desktop client have a login prompt? Of course it does. The first screen, Edwin, as you can see here, will have a login prompt if I log out of it and log back in. It's going to actually ask me for those credentials. So this will give you that VPN access to, whatever account that you've created. By putting in the login name and unique password, that's going to bring to this portal system here whatever unique data that you want to view, okay? As you can see in front of you. All the features that you have mentioned, Sandra, do they have an additional cost? No, these features are all baked in. The only extra added cost that we'll go over is going to be for Pulse. And depending on the size of the deal, we'll talk about whatever strategy we need to get that to you within that first year at either a discount or free. Depends on the entry point. So the partner specialist you're going to be dealing with, he may not have a unique way of pricing this out to you, but I'm going to leave that up to them to discuss that pricing. Okay? Backing up Windows directory. How successful is the restore of Windows 7? So this is a file folder-based backup. We don't recommend this system for backing up or in a bare metal fashion the programs or software applications. Now, you could create an image of this solution or an image of this box and send it over the wire, but you know what, I'm not going to advise that because it not only is going to be expensive, but it's going to take forever because that's going to be a large file. All right. I definitely recommend you can back up any kind of directory data files if you need, but backing up the software applications, I don't advise it. We get paid, you don't. So I'm just not going to say that's the method for it. Now, SOS, one of the exciting things about us right now in our company and its exponential growth is that we're creating an enterprise solution that will be available fairly soon that will do the imaging for you. But there are free services that are out there in the meantime, and I would say contact your local partner specialist, and they will let you know what they think as far as options go. Now, I haven't mentioned this before, but we're going to do a drawing for a Kindle following this, so I'm going to give out a code at the conclusion of this conversation, this webinar, so that you can call in, and register for that. Okay. So, any other questions? Can you set up users with different roles? Well, within Pulse you can, as far as the remote control panel, but within SOS, you can create as many accounts as you want. If you create one account with several different users and they all have the password, they're going to see each other's data. So, to alleviate that, if you have different factions of that business, just create different accounts with different passwords. You're not going to be billed any differently. It's just based on space. Next question. How do you promote and bundle your services? We're gonna cover that in the ROI discussion. So I ask you to just be just be patient on that. John asks, do you have a native SQL backup? John, we're actually working on the native SQL backup. Plenty of our customers and partners use the newest release of the product to back up SQL in live fashion. However, I've got to tell you what best practices are. Best practices in any live email database at this point in time is always to create a local copy first. With SQL, it would simply be activating that native system backup, which is my SQL backup, creating a local copy. As long as that naming convention doesn't change the name or location, we're going to see it as the same file once the initial goes up, and just take the incremental changes on a nightly basis and give you full and free version history on that. So very exciting. How does the service compare to Apple's cloud service? I'm going to have to defer that to one of our technicians, because Apple's cloud service, I believe, is more of a collaborative tool and hasn't even been released yet. So we'll cover that when the time comes. You can call in, Salt, and speak directly with a partner representative, and we'll answer that specifically. How do you promote and bundle your services? We're going to go over that as well. Okay, I'm going to move on unless there's any other technical questions for us. Okay? So let's get on to the ROI spreadsheet. What you should see in here is that Excel spreadsheet, and I've created it to really translate the scalability of this proposition. So in this, we're not only going to analyze cost to SOS, but we're going to entertain marketing strategies, okay? How you're going to deliver this and how much you can charge for the solution. So I've created several different levels of a type of client as far as a profile, which could at least, I think, cover everybody that's on this phone call right here. I'll start with the SMB sector, small to medium business. So the profile of a small to medium business would be anywhere from 5 to 100 users, okay? So I'm sure all of you have at least one to maybe several of these customers. I'm going to put in an opportunity level of 30, okay, just as an average, all right? Now, how much are these small to medium businesses backing up? How much data or how much space do they need on a routine basis? Well, typically, I see these small to medium businesses needing to back up anywhere from 50 gig to 150 gig. And I'm going to use the figure of 50 gig to accomplish what we need in this conversation, okay? And what is the specialized sector? Well, specialized sector is any vertical that has compliancy needs. So let's say medical health care, finance industry, law, government, education, every one of those verticals will need some sort and form of compliancy statute met. You'll be happy to know that SOS will check off every one of those. I have not seen a statute we cannot comply with. So it will not impede on who you sell to. But the reason why I've broken them out to a separate category is that based on their compliance needs and the lack of supply out there as far as providers, you can always charge a premium for this service. Based on the feature set that we offer as well, it's still going to be much cheaper than any other solution that's out there that accomplishes their needs. I'm going to put in the figure of 50 gigs as well. Routinely, these specialized sectors, because of their backup needs, are going to be more on an average gigabyte need, but I'll put 50 as a good benchmark. Now, I'm going to analyze the home consumer as well. Some of you may have home consumers, some may not, but we're going to cover some pricing strategies to hit them. I'm going to use 50 opportunities there. Typically, statistics tell us that the home consumer is only backing up somewhere between 5 and 10 gigs. Now, there are those customers that will try to back up every MP3 file and every picture they've ever taken, which may be up to 100 gigs, but technically speaking and statistically speaking, the average home consumer will only use 5 to 10 gigs. And that's what most of those backup providers are assuming when they throw out some kind of crazy unlimited plan, all right? Now, as far as overcoming those other providers that are out there, I'll be more than happy on a person-by-person basis to go over the strategies for overcoming those, because you get what you pay for in this industry. And if you want a headache, go with one of those for free, forever, unlimited programs. There's just no such thing as unlimited data. So I'll put down here, let's see, 5 gigs as a starter package. Now, of course, the home consumer, their paying threshold will be pricing. So they're not going to pay any more than $60 to $100 a year for backup. We're going to create a package that's going to fit right into that model. The next category is small to medium business marketing. So I'm anticipating if you have a high level of comfort for how this product works, that we're going to market this to a greater figure of potentials. All right? Now, what's realistic within 1 year? If you go on a marketing campaign, you hand it out at the local store, if you do an email campaign to dead leads, or whatever your means is for attempting to market to new opportunities. Let's say 200 is a roundabout figure within 1 year that you can hit. Of course, they'll be at 50 gigs as well, so I'll put that in here. And we're going to analyze the conservative adoption rate. I'm pretty comfortable based on what you've seen as far as the backup tool. This is very simple, very reliable. So we'll analyze 25% for that take rate, which means 25% of the 30 we'll take. We'll analyze one of those specialized sectors, which means 50% of the two. The home consumer, we'll say, something like 25% as well. And then for the SMB marketing, we'll just say 5%, okay? So you see the figures here, and the reason we put in a percentage is to figure out what the best starting point is going to be for business here with SOS. You see that your gigabyte need within the first year is going to be right about a terabyte. Now, I got to preface this conversation by saying this is just a preliminary conversation based on a 1 terabyte purchase. We have deals that begin in the 10 terabyte range, and we have deals that start smaller than that, okay? So I would advise you to contact your partner specialist to figure out what the best starting point is for you. But we're going to base this conversation based on the most common starting point for most partners, which is right about the terabyte level. So pre-purchasing 1 terabyte, what does that mean? Well, first of all, it controls what your rate to SOS is per gig per year. And based on that 1 terabyte pre-purchase, you can see up here in the key above that there are yearly gigabyte rates there. Now, because you're on the webinar today, I'm going to come in with a very aggressive price right off the bat and give you a little bit of a break, just if you can refer to this price data sheet, which I will supply every partner specialist with, you can get access to that discount. So $4.30 per gig per year, which comes out to a division of 12, which is per month, 36 cents per gig per month. Now, I can confidently tell you based on my research that that price per gig is very, very attractive, not only in comparison to the other providers out there, but once you factor in the lack of licensing fees, which is that hidden cost many of those other providers hit you with, but also the lack of versioning costs, that is going to be a very, very attractive price point, and you're going to make a ton of ROI, all right? So the next step. How are we going to price this? That's really the meat of the conversation, the best way of bundling and marketing and selling this. Now, I'll tell you what. If you want to deliver this as just a simple storage sale, which I don't recommend because this isn't simple storage. Obviously, it's a backup tool, an archive tool, and a utility for remote access and share. You definitely should be delivering this as a managed service. But if you're going to deliver this as a backup account and just leverage it over to the customer and let them handle it, industry average on a per gig rate is approximately $1 a gig. So over here I'll write it, unmanaged gig equals industry-wide about $1 a gig a month, okay? Now, we sell it for $1.20 a gig a month. So definitely, that is a pretty unique figure right there. That's a pretty good average. Now, if you're managing this solution for a customer, which is how I recommend delivering this dish as a managed product, and I use that labor-wise. It's very automated from that point forward. But this is a disaster recovery solution that you're going to be installing, monitoring, and maintaining for the customer in the event they lose data. And then they'll have the ability of contacting you when they lose data to get that back. And of course, there's going to be a cost for that. You're going to charge them a managed service cost. So what would you charge for a managed service? Well, across the globe, with our partners right now, what's typical? What's typical is a figure of somewhere between $2 and $3 per gig per month if it's fully managed. What justifies that cost? All of the labor that I just mentioned, okay? Now, you can charge whatever you want. We're not getting in the way of how you charge your customers, but if you're going underneath $2, you could be leaving money on the table. I'm going to propose a price of $99 for a 50 gig package, okay? So $99 would be the cost per month. As you can see, I've broken out that per gig per month cost, so that's your markup. So it's just under $2. That's a very good price point. Will your customers pay that? I don't know. I'm going to advise you to contact your partner specialist, and he will drill down to the specifics with you, whether that cost is undervaluing or overvaluing the product. I think it's undervalued. I see my partners getting $3 or more at times. So it's going to be up to you on how to price that. But we're going to leave that figure there for now as a good average. All right? In the specialized sector, what's typical? In the specialized sector, it's typical to get anywhere between $3 and $7 per gig per month based on those compliancy needs. So we're going to charge them a cost up here of $199, okay? And we'll see the ROI jumps up to about $4 per gig. Look at the margins on that, from 36 cents to $1.98 in the regular SMB space, $3.98 in the specialized sector, which is close to 1,000% markup right there, okay? Now the home consumer, price conscious. Are they going to pay more than $100 a year for online backup? Chances are the answer is no. What I recommend is charging it annually to them. So $5 a month would equal $60 for the year for a 5 gig package. You can get that all day, and I see it all day from all my partners getting. So that is very, very good price point right there, and you're still making incredible ROI. It's practically 300% on what you paid. Okay? And then the SMB marketing campaign, of course, they will pay $99 for a 50 gig account as well, such as the Upper Deck. So what does that translate to? Well, it translates to revenue at the end of the day of $23K, just about $24K. Let's talk about your outbound cost to SOS for this solution, okay? How much is it going to cost, and how do you calculate gig? Well, I've told you how we calculate gig as far as that version history goes, but if you pre-purchased 1 terabyte, okay, you're going to want to know how we credit those accounts moving forward from year 1. So let's say you've pre-purchased 1 terabyte. Your cost for the 1,024 gigs is approximately $4,400. All right? That's at the rate of $4.30 per gig per year. Now, let's just say business doesn't go as quickly as you anticipated. You're going to say, Brett, look, I sold 500 gigs in year 1. What happens to the credit? Does it roll over? Do I still have access to it? The answer is yes. This is a very unique way of partnering up Nobody else in the industry does this. We're going to give you 24 months to consume that initial purchase, which gives you some breathing room. Meaning, if you only sell 500 gig of that terabyte, 500 gig of credit, roughly 524 if you want to be exact, is going to roll over to year 2 for you to consume and utilize for those renewals. Based on that scenario, you would have no year 2 cost because that credit would be proportionately larger than your renewal need. Now, you and I both know a terabyte is not a lot to go through in 1 year. And if you can't, with our help, move through that 1 terabyte in 1 year, we may not be in the right business. Now, you may want to start a little bit lower than that, and we can always do that as well. We'll talk to your partner specialist. We'll get it figured out to what you need. Just remember, your bulk purchase in the beginning is what dictates the gig rate. So, 24 months to consume all of those gigs, which means each gig of that terabyte has a shelf life of 12 months from activation or creation of the account. We both know you won't be starting up and activating all 1,024 gigs day 1. So we're going to have some sort of crediting system to give you access to the credit, whatever the difference is, in year 2, which will roll over. So I've covered that right here. $4,400 for the space. All right? Let's talk about the one-time charge here, which is, a branding, integration, support, training, and human resource access cost. Many different providers will bill you on an ongoing basis. This is just a one-time charge, and I want to build some value around it before we entertain my method for discounting this. So what do you get with this partnership? First of all, we're going to be branding the product. There's over 1,200 points of rebrand that take place in order to get it to look and feel exactly the way that you want. All right? Once we get the approval from you and the nod on that, we're going to create a portal system that's going to give you access not only to create these accounts but upgrade them, also from a reseller standpoint to see the start-stop time of those accounts, see when the last backup achieved, etc. Okay? The third portal is going to be for the online access, which you saw me access and retrieve documents from earlier. Okay? In addition to that portal system, we're going to create all that marketing material for you. Not only rebrand the initial pieces, but we're also going to give you access to that partner resource center, which has all of that value in it. In addition to that, we're going to give you specific training on the product. So not only technical training, but specific sales and marketing training on how to successfully push this product on an ongoing basis. These will be live interactive webinars, and you'll have access to recorded webinars if you want to do that diligence on your own, or maybe you're adding employees at some point in time to the partnership and you want to give them an up-to-speed little tutorial on the product. In addition to that, we're going to give you access to human resources. So this is very unique once again. We're going to give you access to not only a consultant, which will be your partner specialist for the purposes of getting on a phone and selling the product. Nobody else is going to give you that access. As a partner specialist, myself, with my partners, I'll get on the phone and we'll tag team those customers and I'll talk through the product during the initial stages of that partnership while the customer and while that partner is just maybe unclear on specifics or uncomfortable talking about the product. Feel free to utilize your partner specialist to give a demonstration or talk to that product. All right? In addition to him, you're going to have an account manager who's going to give you access to our company on a regular basis, priority access, whether it's a division or an individual that you need to speak with in any department. You're also going to have a technician by name that you can count on for the purposes of any kind of technical questions or, escalating any issues that you have. Now, that's where that $2,900 figure comes from, and that's a real figure based on all those things that we provide on an ongoing basis. But as I mentioned, I'm going to entertain here at the overall cost a method for discounting that. So what are you going to get with the product? Not only the infrastructure and the software application. We're going to give you a vulnerability scanner. Okay, I'm going to include that into this deal for any Tier 1 wholesale program. What does that look like? So the vulnerability scanner looks like this. It will be rebranded once you get it. And it's a quick little tool for calculating how much space is going to be needed. So how much data is going to be needed to be backed up? You're going to have that question frequently. What size account do I need? This is going to do the calculation for you, this little vulnerability scanner. So it runs an assessment, says, hey, look, you got 4 gigs that need to be backed up on your computer. And then the consumer-facing side of this would be a link that we provide that pushes them to your sign-up page. Okay? Now, if it's a small to medium business, you might use that in a preemptive manner just to figure out the best proposal to give them as far as account size. If it's a small business that's just visiting your website, you may want to have that available so they can do the math on their own and just sign up automatically. All right? Now, in addition to that vulnerability scanner, we're going to give you a smartphone portal. What is a smartphone portal? Well, you've seen here before, I've shown you the access to your account portal system. This is the web-enabled portal that's going to allow you from any web-enabled device to access and share data. If you're on a smartphone, a Windows, let's say a Windows, BlackBerry, Droid, or iPhone platform, you're going to want to have features that are configured to that phone, because if you log on to this portal, it's going to be labor intensive to find that document. So to overcome that, we've created an M portal, which will allow you to get that. You can see here it's got the features configured to the cell phone as I log into the M portal. Much more unique. Makes it nice and flexible to log in and just go ahead and find that document immediately. And as I said, it supports over 300 mobile platforms. Okay, so we're going to give you both of those as a means for making this a more attractive solution that you can get through. Let's talk through some of the other features that we have. Pulse, which I've shown to you. Pulse is that control panel that's very unique as far as controlling your atmosphere. If you sign up with a 1 terabyte purchase, and you can reference this conversation today, I'm going to entertain giving it to you for the first year for free. We're going to bake it into the deal, and you're going to figure out whether or not you like it in that first year. Second year, there's going to be some nominal cost. But I'm going to throw it in here for the first year for free, and we'll include that. Okay? The yearly value for that will be somewhere around $300, or we could pay for it monthly at $29 moving forward year 2. So, web integration, what is that? And why is an online backup company getting into web development? Well, I'll tell you why. We've had one of our partners want an automated method for their customers to sign up without any touch. They went outside of SOS to get developers to create this system for themselves, and they spent anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 to get this access and ability. Not only is that pricing ridiculous, but we felt the pain because it slowed down the sales process. It took them months to get up and running and start selling those accounts. So most recently, we've just created a division of SOS that will take care of that web development for you. I recommend this because it's going to streamline every portal system that I've just shown you. Let me show you an example of a delivered partner right now. Here's a company by the name of Annapolis, and this is a template-based landing page we're going to create for you that's going to host not only the download client, but the vulnerability scanner, which I've shown you, any FAQs or help buttons that you'll need to utilize. More importantly, it automates the pricing and sign-up process. So if you want to have a shopping cart on your website where people can just sign up without you even knowing and have just lazy income coming through, this is what you're going to need. Whether you're signing up your customers on a case-by-case basis or they're signing up without your help, this is still going to be a great utility for you. So you see here, the customer or you would come in, maybe it's a sales rep for your company that's doing this as well, putting in the different credentials on the account, picking a plan, whether it's a trial or maybe a package you've created here, and then the unique level is the merchant system that we're going to link up to your system, okay? So the default programs right now are PayPal and Authorize.net, but if you have a unique merchant system that you're using, provide us with the API and we'll tell you if it's going to be able to be done through this API package and web integration package. So you see here the customer would put in their name, their information, their credit card information, and voila, we have an automated method now of billing that customer. So you've seen automating the sign-up and upgrade process, but also, if you're going to notice for a second here, we've also made that web portal more unique. So instead of a generic, let's just say, my account.managed offsite backup URL, you now have a more specific identity of your company name. They can log in with your username and password, get details on their account. You can get details on their account, and also you can log into your reseller portal from this web login. I can't obviously log into Annapolis' reseller portal, so I'm going to show you ours real quickly. I'll log into that. and you're going to see what great access and view you'll have in a dashboard view right here in front of you. So your reseller snapshot, it's going to show you space allocated out of the space that you've pre-purchased, recent signups, recent upgrades, cancellation requests, and we all know that this box is going to be empty at all times, right? So what else are you going to get access to? Manage plans. You're going to want to manage those plans. You're going to want to create different packages on an ongoing basis, activate them, deactivate them, maybe if there's seasonal bargains that you're going to be running. In addition, you're going to want to manage the content on that web page. So you're going to want to change buttons, icons, maybe verbiage that's going to be unique to that period of time or what your offering is. Just a ton of control. Now, as I mentioned, this is a standard package, okay? I believe it's sufficient, but if you have the need for marketing capability through HTML function, we can do that as well. If you have the need to link up support ticketing system, we can do that as well. So inquire to your partner specialist about the different packages that are available, and they will take you through the options. But as you can see here, this just streamlines the business. I think it's a must-have. I think it's really a must-have. And in order to get this to you, my method and what I've been able to do and get approved through the supervisors, just to give you a low level of pain on that cost, is completely wipe out the one-time branding charge. So this is going to be unique just to this webinar. If you can reference the webinar from today and my delivery of it, we will keep this whole. But I'm going to zero out the branding cost as my CEO gasps. And you can see now that your total cost down here for the entire solution, space, deliverables, control panel, web integration package, etc., $6,800. Okay? Now, your investment minus the revenue is fairly attractive. You get a profit year one of $17,000, and of course the profit year two is even greater because you're going to have credit attributed to it and no one-time charge there. Let's talk about payment options real quickly, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but you're going to have several payment options. I would advise you to talk to your partner specialist, but if you're my partner, I'm going to tell you what. If you want to make one payment, I'm going to discount money off the top of this, and I'm going to give it to you for $5,900 in one payment. If you want to make it in 5 payments, we'll break that out. And if I can break out my calculator here and take $6,890 and divide it by 5, we're going to have $1,378. Now, I don't want to dilute the conversation, but for those of you that are looking to stretch payments across 12 months, we have a program for you. Contact your partner specialist, okay? Now, the only thing you're going to sacrifice with that program is going to be the gig rate, because obviously if you're paying over 12 months, those monthly payments will be less, but the yearly value will be the same, if not more, okay? And I'm going to tell you the specifics with that subscription program, but it's a month-to-month program, pay-as-you-go. And for some of you, that's going to make more sense than that wholesale program. So for specifics on both those programs, feel free, as I said, to contact your partner specialist immediately. I'm being told that, Sandra, you cannot hear me. I want to ask a question to those of you that are out there. Can you hear the conversation? If you could in your, okay, great. John, you can hear it? Great, excellent, excellent, excellent. Good feedback. So we've covered the pricing strategy here. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go in here and back it up. So let's go in here and back up online. And let's find that file. And we're going to go all the way in here. And we're going to look for that file. There it is, right down here. And somebody indicated before that I clicked on that temp file. You know, it is possible I sure did, but we're going to go ahead and back it up again right now. Taking you through the process again, you've seen the encryption standard, 256-bit on the computer, across the 128-bit SSL tunnel, and then the third level of encryption on the data center, quadruple DoD standards. So very, very, very safe. The transfer is taking place. It's going to push it to that data center and then replicate it across data centers to create that redundancy. So for those of you that are international customers, you may be telling yourself or asking, hey, I want to keep this data out of the U.S. If that's your need, we can do that. So talk to your partner specialist about what it's going to take to get that accomplished. If you're in the U.S., we keep all data domestically. Okay? So the file is transferred, and it's now located on the data center. Let's go retrieve it real quick. Let's go to the account portal system. And the scenario, once again, is you're my customer. I'm your IT guy. You lost your favorite Excel spreadsheet. You call me. I'm on my car. All I've got is my cell phone. Can I get this back to you in minutes? Of course I can. Like any law-abiding citizen, and once again, I'm pulling over to the side of the road on my cell phone, and I'm going to deliver this to you. I'll log in to the system here. I'll go to Recover Share Search, and let's put in the webinar. Let's see if it comes up. Okay, let's try this. And it should be in here somewhere. It was ROI. There it is. So I'm going to ask one of you guys that are on the program to supply me with your email address, the first person that can. I'm going to deliver this spreadsheet to you directly, just to show you that, and you can prove to everybody how well it works. So if one of you wouldn't mind giving me your email address, I'd be more than happy to share it with you, which means I'm going to be shooting. Okay, Gant, you're the winner, the quickest on the draw. It's good to see that I haven't put all of you to sleep yet. Here we go. The share technique. Here's how it's accomplished. I'm going to name it ROI, indicate you're a friend. I'm going to put in, let's see, Gant's name, and it's G-A-N-T at fatdogs.com. I'm going to simply put in that email address and hit share. Now, Gant, if you have access to your email right now, that's going to almost come through instantaneous, so you're going to see the utility of that product. I'll even hit you, the second person up here. Who do we have? John. Let's shoot it to you as well. I want to shoot it to a couple of you so that you can all indicate how quick and efficiently this works, because I rely on your feedback to prove to everybody that this is a great utility. John, I'm going to indicate you're a friend as well. And pardon the... Good. Gant's indicating that he got it. So all of you can feel comfortable that I'm telling the truth here. Let's see. John.Rodia. Okay. And I will be more than happy to provide this for all of you at the conclusion of the conversation. If you just want to call in and ask your local partner specialist, they'll be more than happy to supply you with that. Database experts, it's okay, I'm trying to do several things at once here, so bear with me. There we go. John, that's coming down to you as well right now. So, all of you have seen this in work from start to finish. John, did I misspell the email address? You're indicating that I did. I'm going to send this over to you personally, John, at the conclusion of our conversation. Got it. Okay. Any other questions that I have not answered for all of you? I know I've taken a good amount of your time today. I highly appreciate your patience, but I think it was necessary to really give you from start to finish the entire proposition. I think at this point in time you can see the true value of that partnership, not only from the technical standpoint, but also from the ROI standpoint, from a business standpoint. Very scalable. As I mentioned, I definitely advise you to contact your partner specialist to entertain any kind of starting point that we can get going with you. We're really looking forward to doing some sort of analysis as to what's going to make best sense for you. Does the gigabyte change from year to year, Sanders asking? Well, we're hoping that you're going to push through that gigabyte stored space within the first 4 to 6 months. That's our action plan to help you do that. And in that event, you're going to need to renew, which A is going to mean you're going to need more gig, which means your gig rate's going to drop, Sander. It's going to continue to drop. The more you sell, the lower it gets. All right? So past that first contract, which you have 24 months to sell through the gig, we're going to take a few things into account here, not only your gig rate, but market value. We're going to be realistic here and just make this happen. Of course, if you're selling, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to move forward years 2, 3, and 4 with us, like every one of our partners. Can we pre-populate the online backup with local backup drive? Well, I'm thinking of this question, and that would almost be redundant because we use a caching system to achieve the local backup. I'm assuming that's the question. In order to do those incrementals and just take the changes and append them to the most recent copy. So, do you want to run the local backup at the same time as the online backup? No. And do you need to run the local backup to pre-populate? No. The online backup will actually pre-populate that in the cache folder. The local backup will be, obviously directed toward the drive of your choice. Any other questions that I have not answered from anybody that's still with us here? And as I mentioned, John, I will shoot that over to you specifically at the conclusion of the ROI sheet if you didn't already get it. Sandra, do you use any type of compression when backing up data? Of course we do, in order to expedite those transfers. If some of you have incurred costs for bandwidth, that's going to come in handy as well. But we're not going to charge you for every one of those incremental changes. We're not going to charge you for every one of those versions like every other company is going to be. We're going to charge you for one version that will be the raw file size. So when doing the math, that's still going to be better economically for you. One version, forever. Okay? Every other version, forever for free. If we were to bill you for every compressed file, depending on that file type, it's going to be much more expensive, which is what all of our competitors are going to do. How long does the initial backup take of approximately 50 gig over 5 MB connection? Oh man, Ellie or Eli, I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong, but that is just a really, really tough one to drill down to because there's so many variables. Your connectivity speed, A, B, the type of data, it all comes into play. We like to say industry average is a gig an hour, and with our solution it's going to be much faster than most. So the initial backup what will take most time, but I'll just tell you what, I've seen 50 gigs go over a DSL line in less than 5 days. So I'm assuming that you have better connection speed, and it can go as quick as 1 day. Okay? Any other questions? Well, if that concludes the question portion of the conversation, I'm going to thank all of you once again for attending today. The code for the Kindle I'm now going to give out is going to be XYZ45. Once again, the code for the Kindle drawing is going to be XYZ45. Please call in to your partner specialist. If you don't have the number, it's 877-896-3611, and you'll be directed to the first available representative. Once again, the number 877-896-3611. Call in immediately and register for that Kindle. The code again is XYZ45. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending. I am going to sign off now, and I'm looking forward to any of my partners calling me directly. And any of you that are calling in that have any questions, feel free to reference me with your partner specialist. If you need me to get involved at any point, I'd like to make myself available for any of the negotiations and or explanations of product. Once again, Brett Richmond, SOS. Thanks for attending. We will be in touch soon.